Alright, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I have a few topics I want to talk about this evening. One is the current 2024 race between Trump and DeSantis. DeSantis' Twitter space fail the other night, and the fact that the White House the other day was attacked by a fucking Nazi. No, you did not mishear me. In fact, you may or may not have heard of this. Only because the mainstream media is not talking about it at all because it destroys their narrative. The White House, yesterday, was attacked by a Nazi. So let me talk about that first, because this is going to be the title of the video. It's going to be the first thing that I talk about, so I'll talk about it right here and now. Somebody, this kid, drove a U-Haul truck into the White House gate. This is what it looked like. And I have to say, my first initial reaction to this is the worst break-in attempt I have ever seen in my entire... I mean, it's astonishing how stupid this person... I mean, this is... How does he think that's even going to work? I mean, seriously, if you've ever played a video game in general, GTA, whatever it may be, you know that you can't just break into something, to any type of facility, just using a U-Haul truck, or any type of vehicle. What did he think was going to happen? He was going to break through the gate and just take over the entire White House by himself? I don't understand what he was thinking. A Nazi flag was sprawled across the pavement. You could actually see it. And I'm not sure if the cops set it up that way to make it look more appealing for photographers to post it on articles and whatnot for people to actually see it. But he had a Nazi flag with him, and you're automatically going to assume, right? Ooh, he's like a white supremacist right-wing extremist, right? No, it turns out this guy was not white. He was an immigrant, and he wasn't even here legally. Now, only the person's name has been released, right? There's been photos of him. He's going to court. But as of right now, as far as I'm concerned, we don't even know what country he's from. So we know very little about this guy. And I guess he was a Biden supporter. Some people were saying he wore a mask that said Biden-Harris 2020. So I guess it destroys the narrative for the corporate liberal media. The fact that they wanted this to be like, ooh, it's a white right-wing extremist, right? Oh, but no, it destroys our narrative because he's not from here and he's not white, so it doesn't make sense and we won't run it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, only ABC News is really the only big television network corporation that has actually touched upon this at all. But the thing is, it doesn't make it any less bad. I mean, regardless of your social status, it's still terrible to hold a Nazi flag or have a Nazi flag with you and drive a truck into the White House. Listen, am I shocked by this? No, because a crazy thing happens every other day. In fact, the same day that I found out about this, in fact, I had to find it out by a political pundit, not by the mainstream media, which I think goes to show who you could actually trust these days, the media or pundits. You know, you don't know who to trust these days, because obviously you can't trust the mainstream media, because it's always a narrative with them. Everything's a narrative, and if they don't follow that narrative, then it's terrible. Then it doesn't work. Then we don't run it. It's stupid. Now, when it comes to the 2024 race for president, look, there's pretty much only two guys that have the chance of getting the nomination. And as of right now, it really looks like it's going to be Trump. In fact, for the past 6 months, ever since Trump announced, he's been slowly rising more and more over time. And by the time the East Palestine disaster hit and Trump visited Ohio, his numbers have skyrocketed. I mean, he collapsed during the whole midterm election was a referendum on him, because he couldn't keep his mouth shut on Twitter. He was saying, "Ron DeSanctimonious," which he's still doing. and he handpicked a bunch of terrible candidates like Herschel Walker, who's stupid, and all these other people, and they end up going down to flaming defeat, and it ultimately cost the Republicans the Senate and made them wildly underperform in the House. Nonetheless, Trump has been rising more and more and more. He's been making DeSantis look really bad. He's been hammering him over the fact that he wants to cut Social Security, Medicare. He wants to have tax cuts for the rich. He wants to do this. He's an insider. He's not an outsider like Trump is. I mean, he's just going in on him for everything. And he keeps bringing up the fact that, I nominated DeSantis. He wouldn't have won if it weren't for me, which, by the way, is actually true. If DeSantis, Trump, he owes Trump. Like, let's be honest. Trump carried him. He would have lost had it not been for Trump's endorsement, okay, in the 2018 governor's race. So he won, and then, of course, he won pretty big again. And DeSantis, the thing is, I mean, he's been smart. When it comes to not acknowledging Trump at all, he's been smart on this front because he hasn't been adding fuel to the fire. Because guess what? Anyone who tries to go head-to-head with Trump, they end up losing, right? Because, I mean, Trump is very good at playing bumper cars. Immediately, when he'll never let anyone hit him before he hits them. That's why he went after DeSantis right away, and he's never let up. I remember I made a video about this, making my predictions on the midterms, and I mentioned Trump actually said this. He called him DeSanctimonious, and I said at the time the nickname was terrible, but I also said, or I might have said at the time, that, listen, he's really good at this, and he might cause DeSantis to go down in flaming defeat as well. So we'll have to see how that goes. And he called him DeSanctimonious. I thought it was cringeworthy at the time, but now, honestly, I'm starting to like it. He made a typo the other day calling him Rob DeSanctis, and now he's capitalizing on that typo by just calling him Rob now. So that's that. So the thing is with DeSantis is he does not have nearly the personality that Trump has. He doesn't know how to... The only way he can really hammer Trump is actually on policy. He could fixate on the fact that Trump did not do well on COVID, that he did not do well, for example, on the wall, like, you didn't get the wall done, you had a complete Republican Congress, you didn't get that done. You made the North Korea deal, but then you pulled out of the Iran deal when the Iran deal was the same thing as the North Korea deal. I mean, there's a lot of these things that you could capitalize on. I mean, I'm not saying DeSantis will capitalize on some of these. Like, for example, you increase drone strikes astronomically. I don't agree with that, but DeSantis, I don't know if he agrees with that or not, but I imagine, considering how conservative he is, that he wouldn't go after him on that. But these are all smart things, and Trump, on the other hand, could appeal to more moderate voters by saying, look, well, you want to cut Social Security and Medicaid. Those are very popular. So I don't know why you would want to cut those. I mean, Trump is really the only Republican right now in the race who's actually advocating for not cutting those programs. But yeah, the thing is, in a Republican primary, I mean, this stuff matters more in a general election. They won't be going head-to-head in a general election. It's different because in a general election, you want to appeal to all the voters, not just, first off, you got to hold the primary voters, right? And, usually considering how divisive politics have been today, it's easier to hold, your own base. But you also have to appeal to a majority of independent voters and some people on the other side. That's how you win elections. It's different at a primary because the thing is, Republicans, they don't care as much, voters, they don't care as much about policy, because Trump is so entertaining. Because they want to see him, hit Caitlin Collins. They want him to call her a nasty person. They want him to say, Rob DeSanctimonious, or Tiny Tim, Tiny D Tim, or Nikki Horseface Haley, all these low energy, Mike Pompeo, so on and so forth, right? It's because it's entertaining and people like that. So Republican vote, I'm not saying they don't care about policy at all, which of course plenty of them do. I mean, it would be the opposite if you had somebody in the Democratic Party that was very entertaining. You know, it wouldn't be so much about policy because personality goes a long way. And DeSantis doesn't have near the personality as Trump. So it's going to be tough for DeSantis, especially considering what happened the other night where, and by the way, I tuned into this. I wasn't on Twitter Spaces, but I was actually on YouTube. Somebody was streaming it. So I got to tune in a little bit. And literally the first thing I hear him talk about is, listen, we're not the woke. We are going to eliminate woke. Florida is not a place where woke is. It's the place where woke goes to die. And it's like, listen, it's one thing if you do this in a primary, but in a general election is not going to work. I mean, we saw Republicans, they were like, oh, parental rights, trans. Well, you see how that worked out in the midterms. That's the type of stuff. Most people aren't that online. They don't care about these type of things, and I'm one of those people. I don't care. But nonetheless, DeSantis, he was going on to say, like, oh, listen, I'm going to be the 47th president, no excuses, this, and that. And then the thing sputtered out and died. And Trump, of course, had a few things to say. In fact, he even did this weird thing where he posted on Truth Social an AI of like the devil, Hitler, DeSantis, Musk. They were all like talking to each other, and it was the FBI. It was strange.
Can I please make my big announcement now? Everyone just...
Hello!
Just shut up, George.
Can somebody just mute George?
Dick, could you try not to cough on the...
This is our politics now. I mean, I keep saying it every video, but if you really think about it, it's insane. But I love it so much. So much. Can you imagine if politics was as boring as it was so many years ago? I don't know if I'd ever have this podcast. Anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave your comments and thoughts below. I'll see y'all later.